Welcome back. The BBC documentary is in trouble. Some trouble for BBC brewing. A complaint has been filed against BBC. Remember, a documentary by BBC that revealed the government of the United Kingdom carried out an investigation into the 2002 Gujarat Riots is a piece of propaganda, is what the MEA has said. Now, more trouble for the BBC as a complaint has been filed. Senior colleague Srinjoy Chaudhary joining us on the broadcast with the details. Srinjoy, more trouble for the BBC. It also seems in line with what was expected because the MEA had said that this is propaganda, slamming the BBC for this documentary.
Undoubtedly, you have Vineet Jindal, a very eminent lawyer, going to court, filing a suit, a complaint against the BBC, saying with great clarity that this is propaganda work. And this is something that the Indian government has already said. Yesterday, the External Affairs Ministry made it very clear that this was a piece of propaganda. It reflected poorly on the organization that came up with it. And the organization concerned is the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC. So if the BBC is using information and making it into a piece of propaganda, then it's very clear that action can be taken. And you find Vineet Jindal has asked for action. It also has to be said that Rishi Sunak, the British Prime Minister, has said that he completely disagrees with what the BBC has put out. And he hasn't said it anywhere else but in British Parliament. He has said, replying to a question in the British Parliament, he has said in the House of Commons that he completely disagrees with what the BBC has put out about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. After that, what can be said? It's only to be expected that there will be complaints. And the first complaint, there could be many more after this. The first complaint has come from an eminent lawyer, Vineet Jindal.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the letter that we've accessed as well. Shivya also joining us on the broadcast. Shivya, trouble for the BBC because Advocate Vineet Jindal has now filed a complaint against the BBC for the documentary on Prime Minister Modi.
Yes, of course, and he has raised concerns over the same. So let me go through the letter, wherein it says that the narratives of BBC through the said series are evidently an intentional attempt to create unrest among the Hindu-Muslim community of India and also worldwide, as well as it further adds to the provocation and agitates the Muslim community by depicting Modi as a Hindu leader and questioning the secular setup and democratic structure of the Indian constitution. We are a secular country that believes in the law of the land, which secures and ensures equality among all people irrespective of their caste, race and religion. But the inciting descriptions by BBC has been made which are a mere disregard of secularism in our country. The provocative description and the negative image of the influential public figure Prime Minister Modi would certainly have an indelible impact on the generations of Hindus and Muslims now as well as in the future. The seeds of hatred, disharmony and mistrust are being nourished by such description and would surely hamper the secularism of our country and would disbalance the equilibrium maintained up till now. So, well, in the said complaint, this has been clearly raised that how the narrative has been changed in order to, put an impact on India's image.
Okay, all right. So, Srinjoy, the MEA also saying that this is mere propaganda. The BBC has a lot of explaining to do because, you mentioned in the Parliament as well, the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak also shut down when a statement had been made about this documentary. But the BBC has a lot of explaining to do. The MEA itself coming out and saying that this is propaganda, mere propaganda, targeting the government in this manner.
Not only has the BBC, has the External Affairs Ministry said it is propaganda, it also says that it reflects very poorly on the organization. And the organization is the BBC. The fact that the BBC has come up with something so extremely one-sided, so extremely unfair, and also the fact that it's been dismissed as propaganda is a clear indication of where the Indian government stands on this documentary on the BBC. Now, if the BBC is saying that they are showing documents, and this is based on the documents that came out 20 years ago, well, fine. But the Indian government is very clear. It says that it's being very one-sided. It has been depicted in a very one-sided manner.
All right,
it is
request
pure
you to stay on with us, Srinjoy. We have the first statement also coming in from the BBC. The BBC has issued a statement on the criticism saying BBC is committed to highlighting key issues. Documentary examines the tensions in India. This is the BBC being defiant despite the criticism that has come in with the government dismissing it as mere propaganda and highlighting the issues with it. The BBC claims the documentary examines tensions in India. Shivya back on the broadcast with us. Shivya, the BBC has clearly been defiant in issuing its first response after the controversy broke out.
Yes, of course, they clearly remain defiant. So let me go through the statement as far as BBC is concerned, which says that the BBC is committed to highlighting important issues from around the world. The documentary series examines the tensions between India's Hindu majority and Muslim minority and explores the politics of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in relation to those tensions. This has been a source of considerable reporting and interest both in India and across the world in recent years. The documentary was rigorously researched according to highest editorial standards. A wide range of voices, witnesses and experts were approached, and we have featured a range of opinions. This includes responses from people in the BJP. We offered the Indian government a right to reply to the matters raised in the series. It declined to respond. Well, that is what has been said by the BBC in their defense. They say that all these opinions were taken especially from the BJP itself, and thereafter they collected all those opinions and the feedbacks which came in to make this documentary.
Okay, all right. Let me take this across to Srinjoy as well. Srinjoy, the response of BBC, would you say it's, surprising? The BBC in its first response comes on to say that the BBC is committed to highlighting key issues and the documentary examines the tensions in India. What tensions is the BBC talking about when, the issues that have been mentioned in the documentary have very clearly been dismissed by the government?
See, it's very clearly unfairly depicted is what people who have been interviewed are saying. Mr. Shopon Dasgupta, a BJP member, was interviewed, and he has referred to this entire effort, this interview of him, as a hit job. So even the BBC may have interviewed someone from the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, but the way it was done is being called a hit job. Now you see, the government of India says it's propaganda. The BJP says it is a hit job. And Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of Britain, in Parliament, in the House of Commons, says he totally disagrees with what the BBC has said about Narendra Modi. What kind of position does BBC have now? There is absolutely no one who agrees with the BBC.
All right.
It's a free country.
Let's get
Everyone
a response from the opposition as well, Srinjoy. I request you to stay on with us. We have Mr. Majid Memon of the TMC on the phone line with us. Mr. Memon, the response that has come in from the BBC is just defiance, saying the documentary examines tensions in India. Mr. Memon?
Yes, you see, the contents of the documentary are not known to us, as a matter of fact. But of course, the fierce protest appearing from the government of India only suggests that it is probably reflecting the Prime Minister and the current government in bad color. And I think that if the substance on which such documentary has been prepared, if it is factually false, then definitely we would also stand by the respect and the reputation of our country. But if what they have said is true, one does not know what they have said in their documentary, and therefore it is difficult for us to comment as to what precisely is being objected to.
Because the MEA has also come out and said that this is mere propaganda. So at a time like this, don't you agree that the country should stand together? The MEA saying that this is mere propaganda. In fact, the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak also shutting down Pakistan origin MP when he brought up the issue of this BBC film.
No, but it is difficult for anyone to appreciate that why should the Prime Minister of UK have grudge against India at the instance of Pakistan? What is Pakistan's authority? And why should the UK government bow down to Pakistan? You see, unless there is falsehood in what has been documented, then in that case, definitely our protest is appreciated and our protest is justified. But if the substance, what is shown there, is true, then in that even this government will have to take corrective steps.
Okay, all right. So let me tell you the response of the MEA on this, saying, do note that this has not been screened in India. So we're going to comment on the context of what we have heard and what colleagues have pointed out, saying that the film and documentary is a reflection on the agency and individuals that are peddling this narrative again. So saying that the BBC is peddling a certain kind of narrative in the country time and again. Mr. Memon, thank you for joining us with your viewpoint. The BBC now issuing its first statement claiming that they are examining the tensions in India, and that's what the documentary does, saying the BBC is committed to highlighting key issues.
UK film on Modi sparks controversy.
First installment in this multi-series is entirely about 2002 and what happened during the Godhra and the post-Godhra riots.
Times Now, Newsbreak sets the agenda. First to break, Indian government's response.
We think this is a propaganda piece designed to push a particular discredited narrative.
First, with British PM Sunak's reaction.
We don't tolerate persecution where it appears anywhere, but I'm not sure I agree at all with the characterisation that the honourable gentleman has put forward.